Hey, what's up YouTube? Sapper back with another video. For this video we're going to be looking at some tips and tricks for both beginners and returning players for Dungeon Defenders 2. Alright, so when you're building your defenses, you want to think of your walls and your barricades as kind of a last resort, and you want to try to kill everything before they reach there. So you wouldn't want to put up a wall right here in the very beginning, just because that's not a long distance for your defenses to be able to kill anything before they reach your wall. Now if you're over geared for it, then that's one thing, you just want to keep them in a little area and kill them as fast as possible. But when you're progressing through a level, or whether it's in trials or through the campaign, you want your defenses to kill them before they get to your walls. And you just want to save your walls for the harder guys to kill and for the bosses. So if you are building in a certain lane and you see that your walls are taking a lot of damage, what you want to do is you want to look at what defenses you have there and see if you can place them better or put them somewhere where they can kill all the mobs before they even reach your walls. Now when you're placing walls, again, I wouldn't want to put it right here, because then all the ranged mobs that are going to come out are just going to sit back in the spawn and shoot at it. So instead, you'd want to put it kind of around a corner so that everything has to come out to get to it, because then when the mobs start coming out, they have to get out of the spawn a little bit before they can start shooting at your defenses and your walls and whatnot. Now this line is about the exact path that they will follow. So you can put like a cannon up here and they're not going to stop and shoot at it. They're going to keep going and just follow the path up until they get to a barricade. So that's a good way of being able to put your defenses up to where they can hit everything. And this is especially useful for things like the siege engines. The siege engines, they take like 90% less damage when you attack them from the front. So you want to, if there's any lanes where you know that there's going to be siege engines, or where there could be, you want to set your defenses up like this to where they can shoot them from the back. Now another thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to use the environmental defenses whenever possible. Now if you come over close to it to where you can see the activate, it'll show you on the screen where it's going to come out at, so you can set up your defenses around that. So like for the example, the ice cart here, when you use it, it's going to shoot out that and it's going to slow them. So you wouldn't want to have your walls in front of that or even on top of that, because if your wall is sitting right here and you slow them, you're not actually slowing them, they're just still sitting on your wall. So with the wall placed back here, you can see that if you get a big group coming out and you're not killing them fast enough, then you can slow them down and give your defenses time to kill them before they get to your wall. Now when you're placing your defenses, you want to take a look at what's coming out. If you come up to the spawn for the enemies, you can look and see what's coming out so that you can see what defenses you want to place where. There's later on in the game there'll be defenses that, or there'll be mobs that will disable auras. There'll be ones that have shields and you can't attack them from the front. There'll be ones that'll reflect projectiles. So you really want to know what's coming out before you place too many defenses, because for example, if I had the one coming out of this that was going to reflect projectiles, then I wouldn't want to put a bunch of cannonballs there because they're not going to kill it. I would want to put auras instead. Now for your characters, you can do absolutely everything in the game all the way up to Chaos 7 with just the original 4. Some of the premium heroes make things easier, but you don't exactly need them. So what you want to do is you want to get 2 or 3 heroes that you're comfortable with and you're comfortable with their defenses, and then just focus mostly on those. There'll be some situations where you might need a specific hero for something, like, for example, Chaos 6. It's really helpful to have the EV2 for her reflect beams. No, you don't absolutely need it, but it makes it a lot easier. But for the most part, I don't use the EV2 at all. I stick with the 3 main heroes. And what that'll allow you to do is you can build up your defenses better. And you have a better idea of where to place them, because it's not something new that you've never used before. For me personally, I use the Squire for the blockades, just because they don't have the most health, but they do have quite a bit of health, and they do a bunch of damage, and they take up a bunch of space. For most of my damage, I'm usually using the Flame Auras. Just because, other than some orcs that can disable them, I don't have to worry about this getting destroyed. As they walk through it, it'll lose some health, but as long as you have enough health on them, then they're pretty much just a set and forget defense. For any of the returning players, the Boost Aura, they nerfed it, so it's not really worth using anymore. So as you can see, before the Boost Aura, my Flame Aura is doing 113k DPS, and then after I put it down, it's only 125, so it's not really that big of a jump for it, especially when instead I could put something else down that would do damage. So like, for example, instead of putting a Boost Aura down, I can put another cannon down and still save DU, and get more DPS out of it than what the Boost Aura will add. Alright, so other than the Flame Aura, really the only other thing that I use on a regular basis is cannonballs for DPS. Just because with some of the relics that you can get and some of the shards, they become really powerful. They can do quite a bit of DPS. And the cannonballs and the Flame Auras combined, they can take out pretty much anything. And then the only other thing that I use on a regular basis, obviously, is the Skyguard Tower. Those will only take out flying enemies. One thing to note about that, though, is flying enemies are anything that's in the air. So if you have a ground enemy and you slam it and it flies up in the air, it's now a flying enemy, and your Skyguard will attack it. So there are some builds that are built around using the Huntress trap to throw things up in the air, and then killing it with the Skyguard, because the Skyguard will do more damage, and then that just turns everything into a flying enemy. So now on maps where the DU is tight, one thing that you can look into doing is, instead of killing them right out of the spawn, look to see if there's anywhere where they can combine to kill everything together. This isn't a good map for this, because where they combine is at the cart where you're defending anyways. But like, for example, if these two came out separately there and then instead they combined right here, then you could set up your defenses there, and then you would only have to set up one set of defenses instead of 2. So you want to make sure that you're using your DU in the best way possible, so that you can kill everything the easiest. And then another thing to note is, failing isn't exactly a bad thing. What you want to do is, when you fail a map, before you leave, take a look at where you failed. Look at what defenses broke down, and try to see what you can change so that the next time, so that you can get through it easier. See if there's maybe if you need to replace a flame aura with a cannonball, or if you can take out one of your walls and put up a second flame aura or cannonball, or whatever the case is, or see if maybe a flyer got through and you need to put up another Skyguard tower. So when you fail a map, before you fail, you can look at all of your defenses that are left, and you can see, these two walls are still full health, but this one got destroyed, so you can see what lane you need to focus on. Now for returning players, I'm sure you remembered from Dungeon Defenders 1, and I think from the beginning of Dungeon Defenders 2, when you would have build characters and DPS characters. That's not the case anymore. Now, all of your main gear spots will only increase your hero damage, and then your tower damage is increased by the relics down here. So you can actually DPS and build on the same character without really sacrificing much. Now the Ascension, there is some things that will focus more on DPS for your hero instead of the tower, but really it's only in the utility that becomes a factor. So you'll have your separate offense for your hero damage, then you'll have defense for your tower damage, and then the utility is kind of where you can choose between the two. So really, the entire time that I've been playing this, I've been building and DPSing on the same monk. So that does make it a lot easier. Now for gearing up your characters, I'll put a link down in the description, but for each Trials Chaos level, there's a max gear that'll drop from that. Now, to get the max gear the fastest, what you want to do is you want to have one character where you have all of your best equipment on. And for the best equipment, what you want to look at is the very top bigger number. So for weapons, it'll be the hero damage, and for armor, it'll be the armor stat. So for example, if I got another set of boots that dropped right now and they were 3,800 armor, even if the other stats are worse, I would want to equip that on whichever character I'm using as the mule for that. And you can use that for your DPS character. That's what I've done most of the time. There are some times in Chaos 5 where that can be problematic because you need a certain threshold of health to be able to live through certain enemies. And if you're equipping all of your best stuff and it doesn't have health on it, then your health is going to drop too low, and then it's going to be very difficult to get through that. So through that section, I actually had a DPS character, which I used my Abyss Lord for that, and so that way, if my monk's health dropped too low, then I could just switch to my Abyss, and I knew that he always had enough health. Now, for your mule character, the relics don't matter. Your relics will just drop based on your highest gear level. So as you get better gear, then you'll get higher relics, but the relics don't factor into that at all. So for your mule, you don't need a relic in every spot, and even for your builders, I have one in every spot on this one, but you only need a relic in the spots that you're actually doing DPS on, or that you're actually using that tower. So when you're moving from one chaos level to the next, one thing that can help, because there'll be a lot of times when you'll be max chaos 2 and you're not getting any more gear out of that, but chaos 3 is too hard and you can't beat even the first level so that you can start getting gear from it. Something that you can do to help out with that is to level up the relics that you're using for your main spots. So for example, this one right here isn't leveled up, and to level it up you just push the interact with it. On PlayStation it's triangle, and then come down to the bottom, and then you'll see the upgrade to max or upgrade by 1, and then you'll just want to hold that and then upgrade it all the way. And what that'll do is, if you see over there on the left, you see the max stats, it'll increase the stats up to that. And so with the yellow armor, that has 60 upgrade levels on that, so there's a big difference between max and the lowest. So like you see with this one, with my totem that I haven't leveled up at all, The defense health is 11,887 with before it's upgraded, and fully upgraded it's 13,192. So that's a huge difference. That'll, you know, add a lot of health to all of those, and it'll add a lot of damage to everything. So if you're having problems with a level, that's something that can give you a little boost. Now I wouldn't recommend leveling up all of the way for all of them, because for example this one costs 360,000 coins to max. So if you're leveling up all of your gear every time you get a replacement, you're going to be spending a lot of coins just leveling those up. Now what I would recommend doing, however, is for your shards, I would level up your shards, especially the main ones that you're going to be using, because you're not going to be replacing those shards, especially something like Deadly Strikes or the Stun Fire for the Cannonball. Every single time you're going to be using that. So you want to level those up so that they give you more benefit from them. Now some of those can be pretty expensive to level up, especially the ones that have 20 levels. So like for example this Electric Retribution, that one's 573 to max. So I haven't maxed that one out yet because I've been spending my gold elsewhere. But you know, once I do max that out, then I can use that every single time. It's not something that's going to get replaced. Now once you start beating levels, so like you can see this one isn't maxed out yet. That's because right now I'm farming Chaos 6, and I can beat Chaos 6 without that being maxed. So that way when I get an upgrade, I can actually equip an upgrade without having to level it up first. So you'll get through the levels faster. Then once you get to the end, you know, and you're going from 6 to 7, then you'll want to again take one of the higher ones up and level that up. Alright, now for my final tip. If you're not going to be spending any money on the game, when you beat the campaign you will have about 600 gems. If you only spend $20 worth more, you can buy the thing from the shop to max out your bags. That'll be over here in the MISC. What that'll do is that'll give you full bags in all of the spots, is like as many bags as you can have. And what I do is I have like my first bag is where all my weapons go, and I have that auto sorted. My second bag is where all my armor goes, and that's auto sorted. And then pets, pet food, 2 for shards, my relics, and then finally everything else. Now right now you'll see that other than the shards that most of my bags are fairly empty, but when I'm farming I'll have it to where all the extra stuff is going into my final bag, like extra weapons and everything, because these fill up just so fast. Now when you're going through, you get extra bonuses for consecutive wins. So if you're farming for a shard or something like that, you don't want to quit and go back and get rid of stuff and do all that. So it's easier to just have the extra space beforehand. Now the only way to get bags is through the gems. So you could, you know, buy a hero if you wanted to or whatnot, but the heroes you can get from other ways. So if you're not going to be spending a bunch of money on it, I would suggest only spending on to get the extra bags. Alright, that'll do it for the beginners tips and tricks. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.